Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Join me on the first and third Thursdays on the show, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting-edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. And please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. I'm excited today to have with me Jodi Scott. She is the co-founder of Green Goo, a plant-based first aid and herbal wellness company she built alongside her mom and sister from their family farm. What began as herbal infusions made in mason jars grew into a nationally distributed brand carried in over 120,000 stores. After selling the company, Jodi led the courageous decision to buy it back, sparking a profound journey of resilience, conscious leadership, and personal transformation. With a background in biology and health psychology, Jodi bridges science, ancient plant wisdom, and nervous system awareness to explore how mindset, presence, plants, and purpose shape both health and business. She continues to work side by side with her family, mentor founders, and speak openly about redefining success beyond hustle, fear, and external validation. So welcome, Jodi. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's a treat to be here with you.
Yeah. So your story is pretty amazing. I usually like to start out for my listeners with just a little bit of background from you on, your journey, how you got into doing this, and definitely what happened when you sold the company and then bought it back. Like, that's a phenomenal story right there.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
Just hearing you say it. Well, as you shared, I got my master's in health psychology and I was pre-med. I was training resident physicians on the biopsychosocial model and passionate about psychoneuroimmunology. So what does that mean?
Mhm.
So as I'm training resident physicians, my process was rather than just prescribing, let's look at the patient as a whole. What are some other data points that we can collect to optimize the prescription, the solution, whatever the plan may be? And it could be as simple as, do you have family? Are you able to pay your bills? And sometimes those little pieces of information can help us really move and shift the need to change in a way that's going to work proactively with the patient. And then psychoneuroimmunology is very much the science between our immune system, our nervous system, and our psychology. And sort of fast forward, it's been really neat to see how skincare has become a really key part in that education. So, in terms of Green Goo and how that was born, my sister's an herbalist and a midwife, and my mom is a self-taught computer programmer, website developer. We grew up in the military, and my mom had to reinvent her career too often. So, she was one of those early adopters of computer programming. And for me, I was pregnant at the time, and I thought it was really interesting. I opened up my first aid cabinet and I went to go use what would have been a traditional OTC first aid product. And I was reading the labels, and all of a sudden I realized, why am I using this? I don't want to use this. And I'm eating clean ingredients. I'm looking at the back of labels, and I'm making really good choices. But for whatever reason, I had in my mind that these were the only solutions and that I just needed to make that exception. And in doing further research, I found I wasn't alone. The natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told that these chemical-laden, one-time use products were the only solutions to get the job done in the over-the-counter first aid space. And then it was even more interesting to me that the conventional consumer was less interested about the ingredients, but was more concerned about efficacy, and that they were generally dissatisfied with what was available. Chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high, and these over-the-counter solutions use 7 to 10 days. Discontinue use if symptoms persist. Go see your physician. And I thought, as my sister's going to herb school and she's making these topical medicinal salves, I thought, what if we can make a plant-based solution that is superior in efficacy first, but oh, by the way, is also natural and sustainable? So Green Goo was born.
Wow. Yeah, it's so interesting because when I talk to a lot of people about their skincare and even like estheticians and things like that, the story still is like, well, if you want something to be effective, it's got to have chemicals in it. Like that mantra is still out there today, right? Like we're still sort of buying into the fact that, well, we can eat organic and all natural and we can take supplements and we can have all these natural therapies, but when it comes to putting something on our skin, hair, whatever, it's in order for it to work, it's got to contain some type of chemical or pharmaceutical type active ingredient,
It's
which
so
is not the
true.
case. Yeah.
Yes. And we have this idea that if it doesn't sting, burn, or dry it out, that it's somehow not doing its job.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's many years of kind of having that beat into us, right?
And I don't think, a lot of these solutions are sort of born from the Industrial Revolution, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we have manufacturing that's available to feed and serve the masses. And there wasn't the transportation we have today. There wasn't the technology we have today. There sure wasn't Amazon. And there was this notion that more volume meant more value. So there was a lot of innovation in synthetic ingredients, phthalates, parabens, petroleums that we just didn't know was going to have the harmful effect that it does today. And of course, fast forward today, we know they're endocrine disruptors. We know that they're breaking down the skin barrier and it's forcing our body to work harder instead of complementing the system and giving the nutrition and the skin repair that our body knows how to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Your background is amazing. I mean, it's interesting, like psychoneuroimmunology. I heard that term for the first time when I was in doctoral school, and it was fascinating to me, right? And then as I got more into what I do now, working with my magazines and all of that, the connection between our thoughts, and the way that we think, our mindset and our nervous system, and then our immune system is way more intricate than I think anyone realizes.
It is so
So,
true.
yeah, I mean, and I think, take that a step further to what you're doing. I would venture to guess most people listening to this don't have a clue that the skin is deeply connected to the nervous system, and how what we put on our skin can affect immunity and mindset and all of that. That's like another level.
So true. I mean, we started this to reinvent first aid, and it's very much full circle into that skincare education. And it's been really fun. Psychoneuroimmunology was sort of conceptual when it first came out, and now there's so much data to support it. And the the Journal of Behavioral Medicine is now joining forces with the Journal of Dermatology, and they're doing research together and looking at how mindfulness, as simple as frequent acts of mindfulness and call it gratitude or meditation, they're seeing cortisol drop, they're seeing inflammation go down, and they're seeing skin healing go up. And so, more of that data to support that our skin is not just the largest organ, it is rich in neurotransmitters, it is our first line of defense, and it is in a state of fight or flight all the time. And it's the first communicator to our immune system, to our nervous system, and then therefore our psychology. And you think about when you have inflammation, how it impacts, like you feel groggy, you don't have clarity, you're not happy. And so when you can start thinking of like, oh, I'm going to manage my inflammation to help with my mindset, all of a sudden it's this great unlock. And then you think about all these things that we're putting on our skin that are causing our skin to be challenged. And I also really appreciate that rather than just thinking about what to avoid on your skin, let's think about what to add to that nutritional skincare to complement all of our systems.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. What would you add?
Green Goo.
So tell us
Literally,
more about, yeah, what's in it?
yeah, so nutritional skincare all the way. So what's
Yep.
unique about Green Goo is that we still make the ingredients ourselves, the same way we did on our farm in the early days, growing the herbs, drying them on old screen door racks, taking them through this infusion process, putting these medicinal oils into these formulas. We still do that with our manufacturing today because we're protecting the integrity of the plant. We're not exposing it to high heat or chemicals that reduce that medicinal load. So, this beautiful botanical medicinal profile goes into these formulas, and then that's why it works. And so, we have a number of plants from calendula, yarrow, chickweed, comfrey, chamomile, rosemary, lavender that all contribute to that food for the skin, depending on are we addressing wound care, anti inflammatory, eczema, anti-aging, sexual wellness, and even deodorant, which is really fun to talk about when you think about nutritional skincare.
That's a big one because I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I cannot find an all natural deodorant that works.
And you think about don't just avoid certain ingredients. Your armpit absorbs about 70% of what you put in it. It is a portal for absorption next to your lymphatic tissue. So why not also give it nutrition? So we have like ginkgo biloba, echinacea, functional mushrooms, ashwagandha, holy basil, because why not add to that nutritional load to help your body in homeostasis?
Oh yeah, exactly, for sure. And I think that's so interesting. Like we just said a minute ago, people aren't relating like just skin to your immune system and your mindset. I'm pretty sure no one's relating their armpit to that.
So
Right?
true. I did until I was started looking at the data and the transdermal absorption. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's not just a subtract game. This is an addition game with the armpit. And then all of a sudden the pH changes because your skin is just drinking it up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true. And there's, when I talk to a lot of naturopaths or functional medicine practitioners, I don't have the data on this, but I know that there's a lot of thought around the fact that a lot of these deodorants are potentially causing breast cancer or other kinds of cancers or things like that. So there's so many reasons to move away from that and try to find something that is more all natural and healing and all of that. Just, whether you're concerned about protecting yourself from chronic disease or you just want to enhance your preventative, you know, skincare regime and use something like that because it's going to be better for you all over. So I love this conversation. We're actually going to go to a quick break right now. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show. We're going to come back and explore more with Jodi Scott, co-founder of Green Goo, a plant-based first aid and herbal wellness company. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com or either of my two publications, www.naturalnutmeg.com or www.essentialnaples.com. And you can learn more about my guest today, Jodi Scott, at her website, which is www.greengoo.com. That's spelled exactly the way it sounds, GREENGOO.com. So we were just talking about, kind of your mindset around, you know, challenging the conventional first aid and how that's now moved into like a whole skincare line. But I wanted to maybe just go a little bit back to how you guys started out and how like a tiny family kitchen and how that evolved into a national brand. And it sounds like that happened pretty quickly, which I'm sure gave you a lot of experiences about just like what did you have to do to change your mindset to go from this small operation to like having your product all over the country?
There was a lot of survive mode, to say the least. And let me tell you, listeners, when you're in survive mode, you're only really at a third of your optimal performance, which is the lesson I learned later.
Mhm.
But at that point, it's just so the entrepreneurial parenting experience, right? We started in our kitchen, and our kitchen was just buzzing with production so much that we had to take our we had to create an outdoor kitchen with our camping equipment for us to cook our food because our kitchen was doing all of the Green Goo production.
That's
And
wild.
it was. I'm sure
Yeah.
people were like,
You're
drive,
like your meals, you're cooking outside in like
yeah.
camping equipment.
And we're drying the herbs on old screen door racks that are just layered one above the other on our front porch. So I'm sure people are driving by going, what is going on over there?
Yep.
And it really started at the farmers market. And I really enjoyed that time with that interface with our customers because we got to get to know one, what people were looking for, and two, they were also teaching us more how our products were being used. I had moms who their son who had eczema was finally able to go to school because he wasn't embarrassed and his inflammation was under control. People who had been suffering from chronic illness or surgeries, they could finally go outside and enjoy their outdoor activities. People with their weekend adventures lifting up their shirt because they had a giant gash and they're like, oh, I used to stuff dirt in my cut. Now I use Green Goo when I'm out, biking in the woods. Um, and then retailers started reaching out to us, and customers who went to the market lived in other states. And they said, do you have a website? And thankfully, my mom was that self-taught computer
Yeah.
programmer. So it was really natural to just throw up the website. And when the first retailer reached out to us and said, hey, do you have UPCs? Are you EDI compatible? He had no idea what any of that meant. So we were just constantly learning. And I found myself on the road 3 weeks out of the month because we're now meeting with national pharmacies and retailers. I'll never forget the first time talking to a national pharmacy buyer. And I said, hey, I've got a plant-based first aid for you. And he just about fell out of his seat. He's like, those two words do not go in the same sentence.
Exactly.
And truly during that time, no one used the word plant-based. And so what did that even mean? And of course, most people's exposure to natural was very basic. Most
Hmm.
people were getting very little plant properties combined with synthetic
Yep.
petroleum based. So you're not really absorbing any of those medicinal properties if you're even getting plant integrity in the first place. And so it was great when I talked to that buyer. I said, just go home and use it because proof is in using it. And so we went from essentially no stores to almost 150,000 points of distribution in less than 5 years.
Wow.
And you're talking about three women, moms, sisters who we didn't have an MBA, who medical background. And so there was a lot of business 101, and we had a family business. So learning how to build a business with family and ensuring that we were all in our zones of genius, performing in a way that complemented the company. And we didn't create a culture that was dysfunctional that can happen real quick that you would hear about in family businesses.
Yeah, I'm sure that working that closely with your mom and your sister, you found out very quickly like it's like a whole different dynamic in a relationship. Like I, for example, work with my partner, and so he does all the IT, and I do, the most of the marketing and editorial and things like that. Obviously, I have a marketing director, and I have graphic design and editor and all that. But still, I'm overseeing like most of the, direction of the magazine. But there are days when it's like, hey, I needed something put on the website. What are you doing? Like
Hmm.
you have to step out of the partner role and into like a, like a coworker role. And it's not easy.
No, because you can trigger your partner or family member and vice versa
Hmm.
in the same way. And so, really respecting each other's lane and each other's role, and knowing that when you kind of get into that fight or flight mode, when you get hijacked, to take a step back and really having that awareness so that you don't bring that into the work setting, because that also impacts the rest of your team when they're around that. And Someone told me early on that when you create a dysfunctional family business, then you also attract dysfunctional team members. And so how important it was to have good hygiene. And I'm very grateful that when we first started, we sought out family offices, people who had been running family businesses or been a part of them, and really just interviewed them and said, give us best practices. And I think that was incredibly helpful in creating a foundation that helped prevent what could have been disastrous, especially fast forward in terms of some of the more difficult times we faced. And it wasn't always rainbows and butterflies, but my goodness, like staying ahead of it so that you can respond appropriately was huge.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's talk a little bit more specifics about the products that you have, because I'm sure my listeners will be going to your website and checking things out. If you have one, what's your favorite product?
Oh, that's tough because I have them for different reasons. So, I
Or
mean,
give me the ones that your favorite one, your favorites for
yes.
what the different reasons are.
So every family should have the Green Goo first aid in their home. This is your natural neosporin antiseptic alternative. But what we did with this is we made it so that it is your Swiss Army knife first aid on the go. So you never have your first aid kit with you when you need it. And what we recognized is when you look at a first aid shelf, people are looking for an antiseptic. They're looking to take the sting and the itch out, anti-inflammatory, speed up the healing. So we thought, why can't that be all in one solution? And so truly, it takes the sting and the itch out. Little kids can have the autonomy to put it on. It's not toxic for kiddos. It's neomycin free, which 25% of the population is allergic to neomycin. And then
Mm.
it speeds up the healing. And what's fun is you find that you have it with you at the times that you wouldn't have your first aid kit. Someone gets a bee sting, someone has, an ingrown toenail or rashes of any kind. And it's so great to have. And my husband literally keeps it in his pocket everywhere he goes. And so it can serve as your lip balm. Um, the pain relief I love, and now that I know what I know with inflammation, I'm glad that I was using it the way I have been over the last decade because I wasn't just using it for muscle recovery or injuries. I would actually put it on from head to toe before I would travel. So the night before I would head out on a flight, I knew that I wasn't going to eat as well. I wasn't going to be as hydrated. I would have inflammation, and I would just butter up, put it on head to toe, put on my bathrobe, let my skin drink it up, and I would just feel different the next
Wow.
day. I would feel more relaxed. And my body, it was like I was setting my body up for success with the stress I was going to put it through. And then the skin repair is the one I use the most. And this was designed to be like a Moderna burn and scar after sun alternative. And it's turned into an incredible anti-aging. It is so hydrating, and I need low maintenance skincare. So I just put this on my face every night before I go to bed. I live in a very dry area, and my skin is so hydrated. And then I'll use it as a lotion alternative like twice a week. And I do that same thing where I butter up, let my skin drink it up. And what you'll find, and I always say we're probably the most anti-capitalistic business model because the more you use Green Goo, the less you need it because you're feeding and nourishing and hydrating your skin.
Yep.
And you don't have to put lotion on 5 times a day because, a lot of times you put lotion on and 10 minutes later you're dry again. And the skin
Especially in
repair,
the winter. Yeah, for sure.
especially in the winter.
Yep.
And this is great for eczema as well. John Hopkins has been using our dry skin and repair formula in their scleroderma and skin condition department for over a decade. And we just had this wonderful interaction with a customer who her daughter has had eczema for the last year. She's used prescription and over-the-counter steroids, and they're not sleeping. And if you have eczema, you're miserable at night. It's like all the noise goes away and all you feel is the itch.
Mm.
2 weeks. And she goes, I'm coming to you not believing in natural products, but I don't know where else to go. And it was recommended. So I'm just gonna do it. 2 weeks. She's like, I
Wow.
can't believe we suffered for a year.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Um, I love the second one that you talked about as far as like travel. I would never think that there's a product out there that you could like a topical skincare type product that could actually do something for you in terms of traveling, air travel, whether it's just because you're dehydrated or inflammation or whatever, but even for people who travel really stresses them out. Maybe they're afraid to fly, or just in general, like getting to where they need to get to is so stressful. That's amazing.
And you'll feel that mindset shift. There'll be days where
Mhm.
I just had a really long day. I know I've pushed my body. And the same way you go and take a bath, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a bath or a shower, and then I'm going to put the pain relief on, let my skin drink it up, and then I sleep so much better. And it's almost like I went, that feeling after you leave the spa? It's like
Yeah.
that kind of feeling, a reset.
Yep. And so there's not, in terms of, you can't put too much on, right?
No.
Like yeah, okay. That's what I thought. With most supplements and things like that, you're not, unless you're getting into herbals and things like that, you're
Yeah.
not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily be concerned about that. So another amazing insight. I love it. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Jodi Scott, and her website is www.greengoo.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I am talking today with Jodi Scott, and her website is www.greengoo.com. That's spelled GREENGOO.com. And we were just talking about her favorite products that she has, and I love all of those. Especially the pain relief one that now I'm absolutely going and getting that because I'm, I love to travel, but I'm not super crazy about flying. I'll do it, but I don't necessarily love it. And also just I'm always dehydrated when I get off a plane. You just feel like kind of with, traveling and things like that. So I'm excited to try that. Um, so I want to talk about the fact that you sold the company and then you bought it back because that's you don't hear about a story like that too often. So what happened? Like what I guess why the impetus to sell, and then what happened after the fact that led you to want to buy the company back?
So the pandemic happens and we're 98% retail. So if someone has poison ivy, they go to your local pharmacy and you get your solution. And suddenly no one's in stores. Our team had to pivot very quickly, like the rest of the world.
Mhm.
And we went from a retail business to an online store. And I was so terrified that I was going to have to let go my team and shrink the team. And I was so proud of how quickly we pivoted. And never did I think that first aid could be available through an online channel. And we did it. And we got through the pandemic and we saw a lot of businesses not make it. And we just barely made it. And what I recognize is bigger companies, and when we're talking about first aid and OTC, they are the biggest companies in the world. They can insulate risk, but a family that's bootstrapping their business can't. And so
Mhm.
we really needed to find financial support. And the plan wasn't to sell, but we eventually found a company that was very focused on plant-based innovation. And on paper, it was a really great fit. And what the plan was to put us and fold us into their portfolio. So we were still 100% with the company, running the company but we were insulated with risk and we had financial support and we were with teams that were also like-minded in terms of plant-based. And unfortunately, a few weeks into it, one of the founders was faced with legal and financial issues, and included things like being raided by the feds. I mean, it was a really messy situation, and unfortunately, they lost their reputation was tarnished, financials were compromised, and I had less than 24 hours to terminate my entire team. The team that I had worked so hard to protect, my mom, my sister, my husband, my brother-in-law, employee number one, best friend from college who had changed her career. And it was devastating. It was
Mhm.
production stopped. Our purpose was stripped from us, our jobs, and we didn't know what to do. And after we had a lot of tears and helped team members pivot to their next chapter. We were sitting at the kitchen table and I put on my lip balm, and all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, how much lip balm do I have left? And I said, and then, Mom, how much repair do you have? Jen, what's your pain relief? And we are tallying each other's inventory because we know we can't live without it. And then
Right.
my sister goes, are we gonna have to start making this in our kitchen again for ourselves? And then meanwhile, we're getting emails from my son is a paraplegic. This is the only thing that works. My mom is a diabetic. This is the only thing that works.
Wow.
And I thought, you guys, what are we doing? We have to buy back this company. Like we have to find a way to get this back. And I had just hired a coach, and I was so excited because it was the first time in my life that I got to hire someone. I'd heard all these CEOs had coaches, and I thought this is going to be great. And I was only with them for a couple of months when I lost my job, and so I emailed him on Friday and just said, hey, Monday, Timmy, I'm not going to be able to make it to that 5 o'clock meeting. I can't pay you. And he's like, what happened, Jodi? And I gave him some broad brushstrokes. And he said, you show up on Monday, I'll be there.
Mhm.
Monday, 5 o'clock. Every Monday, I will show up until you need me. And that was really wonderful. But when you have that paralysis, I'm living in the past. I'm doing the shoulda, woulda, coulda. I am depressed. I am thinking of the future. I am anxious. I have anxiety. I don't know how we're going to pay our bills. There's the last thing I wanted to do was go spend some time with someone, no matter how nice they were. I just wanted to hide.
Right.
And Monday showed up, and I wasn't going to go to the meeting, but I felt so bad. I thought, oh, this nice person is willing to give me his time. I'm going to
I'll
just,
just go
yeah,
once.
once. Exactly. I was going to go to the call once and then say thank you, but no thank you. And he goes, okay, Jodi. He asked me, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I'd like to be able to buy the company back, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. He's like, okay, we're starting your mental fitness boot camp. I'm like, what does that mean? We are going to set your alarm every 3 hours, and you're going to do a 30-minute to 60-second, or excuse me, 30-second to 60-second presence exercise. I'm like, Timmy, what on earth is that? And
Mhm.
he's like, we are going to build your mental fitness the same way you go to the gym and you physically work out, which by the way, keep doing that because we need to keep you strong for this. And we are going to get you mentally fit to be able to buy back your company. And I thought, this is nuts. And so I'm like, what is a presence exercise? He goes, well, you're going to look at the horizon. You're going to go outside. Maybe you're going to put your feet on the ground. Maybe you're going to listen to the birds. Maybe you're going to just listen to your breath or rub your fingertips together, and gave me these different nervous system exercises that I had to do for the 30 seconds to a minute every 3 hours. And at first I thought, okay, this is so strange. And how hard can it be?
Right.
And 30 seconds felt like forever when you're
Wow.
when you're living in that state of fight or flight. And I've been
True.
in fight or flight for, 5, 7 years now. You can't just turn that off. But, better say it, I'm going to say, and every 3 hours, I started to look forward to it. And then it got easier. And then I started to see the benefits throughout the day. And it was really cool because I started to feel that I was more in charge of my nervous system than my nervous system was in charge of me. And I knew
Mhm.
how to regulate it in a difficult situation, which I had many of those that I had to address to get myself moving forward and on this next journey. And it was incredible.
Yeah. It is pretty amazing when you do practices like that, right? Like I don't think we think uh enough about the power that our brain and nervous system really has over us. And then I should say the power that we can have over it, right? Because I think that so many people have had experiences like that. Myself, have had experiences with a health issue and having like irregular heart rates and things like that, and going through all this testing, and there's nothing wrong with you, blah blah blah. Well, how come I'm having palpitations, or how come I'm feeling it skip beat? And I'm sitting there and I'm not stressed out at all, and it's happening. Like why? And there's like, well, there's we don't have an answer for you. Except for I finally found an integrative cardiologist that did have an answer, and it was all basically about, the more you worry about it or think about it, the worse it's going to get. So you need to start doing all of like meditation, the exercises that you just spoke about, things like that. And honestly, once I put my mind to really understanding that I had control over it, and that every time it happened, that's when I would do one of those practices, within 30 days, I think, I had almost completely eliminated it. And it's just like, oh my God, I lived with that for like 2 years, and something so simple, right?
It's such an interesting way of reframing that feedback loop because you think about when someone says, don't think about it, don't think about it, you think about it more.
Oh, of
And the
course.
same way we treat chronic pain, we just suppress the pain. But when all of a sudden you can find a way to communicate with your body in a way that enhances your performance, all of a sudden I realized, wow, I was literally operating only at 30%. And the amount of time I was wasting with my mind overriding my body and exhausting and cortisol probably shooting through the roof.
Hmm.
It's so much more expansive. I am so much more productive now. I have so much more clarity, and then my team performs at a higher rate as well because I'm showing up in a way that I can one model it and two help them practice the same practices. And I invest now every day the same way I go to the gym into my mental fitness exercises, and they are just as important as the food I feed my skin and the choices that I make in my whole wellness journey. And it was a really great unlock.
Yeah. So, I mean, with your background and with, what you just told us and things like that, you see the body communicating to you when you're out of alignment with something. And
Exactly. And
yeah, go ahead.
that shows up in your skin too. The same
Yeah.
way it shows up when you're like, I'm feeling really distracted, I'm feeling inflamed. All of a sudden, I have tools that I can leverage in order to bring myself back to, we'll call it presence or grounding. And I tell my daughter, I'm like, I just call it a muscle. I don't know what else to call it, but I just treat it in that same sense. And and it can be really powerful. And then to that point, being able to demonstrate that for my daughter and her develop these skills earlier in life instead of waiting until later to develop that mindset and the ability to hone it in and sharpen it. It's been cool to see it impact her.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love that you call it a muscle because my background's in exercise physiology. I've lifted weights for years. And I say that to people all the time. Like, you've got to train your mind like you train your body, right? I mean, we don't think about it like that. We think, oh, I think about if I go to the gym and I'm going to lift weights. Yeah, well, that makes sense because I want to increase my muscle mass in my legs or upper body, whatever it is. But we never really think about training our mindset or our thought patterns, or our nervous system regulation. We just don't relate it to that. But that connection, that I've always thought of and you just pointed out again is so important. Really, really so important.
It's so
So
important. And you're right. People are like, don't feel it. That's
yeah.
kind of the mindset. And so yeah, I really appreciate that you underscore the muscle.
Yep. Yep. I love that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Jodi Scott. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. You can learn more about me at my website, www.drdianehayden.com. And I'm talking today with Jodi Scott. Her company is Green Goo, and her website is www.greengoo.com. That's spelled GREENGOO.com. So, um, this has been an awesome conversation. I've absolutely loved it. And I love how you wrapping in this whole like mindset and, nervous system regulation and connecting it to your company because I think it's so funny. Like, I work with so many naturopaths, functional medicine practitioners, holistic psychotherapists, you name it. And there's so many that don't kind of walk this talk, right? Like, they're teaching their patients about all this stuff, but they're not doing it themselves. They're like running around crazy, running a business, having a family, a million obligations. And it's like, I mean, we really have to practice what we preach because there's just, how are we going to get this message out to more and more people if we end up running ourselves into the ground, right? With trying to do
Truly.
our companies. So, and the other thing I think is this, it's especially apparent with women who are in this age range of like 40 to 60, right? Like their kids are not necessarily out of the house or they're in college, they are running a business, they're now maybe starting to have some health issues, that kind of thing. How do you, what would you say to someone like that, to help them, kind of move forward with being more mindful, spending more time listening to their intuition rather than just this hustle, hustle, hustle?
Oh, it's just it to your earlier point, walking the talk, there's just too much joy that you get out of living this way that I will always invest in this now that I felt the difference because when you're present and you're having these mindful moments, it's so much more expansive. Think about fight or flight. It's just very narrow. And you can feel it in your body. You know that it's something doesn't feel right. When the difference is when you're having that moment of really being in the present, your discernment and your intuition and your peace and your joy come into that. And then you are able to be more aware of what your body needs. I work with people who are sort of like food recovery addiction, and I've tried all of the things. And what I'm finding is teaching them mindfulness and getting present is actually the most valuable tool for them to know when they're full and they're no longer eating for an emotional reason. They're like, oh, I made that connection because you're present and you're in the moment. And so I think of that from a us women wearing so many hats, our body is changing so much, and it's starting to have the impact of cortisol pumping through our systems for so long. And so I just really invite this opportunity of nurturing yourself from the outside in, including these presence moments. And you'll just find so much more joy. And the end result is you just make better decisions. We have a acronym that we use in our house. It's called shaman. And this is great for my 14-year-old, but it's also great for me. And so S is for sleep. Make sure you're adding to the sleep bank. You can only push that for so long before it's just time to add to the sleep bank.
Mhm.
H is hydration. It's not just drinking water. We are made of water. So think about hydrating yourself through the things that will serve you, but also the food you eat. There's food that's rich in hydration. There's beauty care that pulls hydration out. There's beauty care that doesn't. Green Goo is that example. A is antioxidant. So thinking about when you open up that fridge, maybe I'm going to choose this over something else. Like when you have that antioxidant word in your mind and you're being inundated with all of these different foods or the things that don't serve that, or
You'll
again,
grab the
skincare.
blueberries.
Exactly. And maybe a
Yeah,
couple chips, but you'll get the
yeah,
carrots and the blueberries.
right.
Exactly. And then M is mindfulness. You don't need to meditate for 2 hours. The science supports that. You can have lots of micro moments that add up throughout the day. It might be as simple as don't rush through that shower. Feel the water as you're washing your hair. Have mindful moments throughout the day. And the more you do it, the more you will crave it. And then the last A is avoid. And this is not just avoiding harmful ingredients or things that don't serve you. It could be people and it could be moments. And I think this was one of the most valuable things as a woman, you know, in this time is that we just always say yes. We think we have to do everything. Well, there's something to be said about just saying no and just
Mhm.
avoiding that situation or that person maybe. And then N is nature because nature just has a way of resetting you. So my daughter, this is great because she'll go, do I scroll or maybe I go outside? for 10 minutes instead. And it's
Ooh.
just a friendly reminder, get off the screen and go get outside for a second.
And I just love the fact that the acronym is shaman.
It's
That's
fun.
so cool. In fact, I have one right in front, not a like live one, but it's called the Shaman. It's the statue that I got from this gallery in Sedona, Arizona. And
Mm.
the guy's name, the artist is Bill Worrell. And he used to sculpt these cool, like reindeer man kind of things that were like, perched on a rock, and they look like shamans basically. They've got like all this accoutrement on them. So I love that. So sleep, hydration, antioxidants, mindfulness, avoid, and nature. I love it.
You got it.
Yeah, that's really great. So if there's one thing you want to leave people with today, one belief or mindset shift that's helped you, what would you want listeners to take with them today?
I think it goes back to the value of just getting present. Get yourself in the moment and you have all the answers. You'll know exactly what to do. You'll put on that salve from head to toe because it'll serve you. You will avoid the situation that is just going to suck the energy and the life out of you. You will choose the thing that serves you well. Go out in nature, find that beautiful, bountiful meal. So I think there's a lot of magic in that moment.
Yeah, just being present, right? Easier
Mhm.
said than done.
True that.
Yeah, it really is, I think, it's almost like I have some people that'll say like, oh, put sticky notes up around, or like you did that alarm or whatever that went off like every 3 hours, right?
I encourage
That's,
that. I had
yeah.
so little expectation for that. And it was 90 days. I did that for 90 days.
Wow.
And that muscle memory really instilled future. It's the same way like when you work out and then you don't work
Mhm.
out and you can feel it. I will
Mhm.
feel, I don't need to set the alarm every 3 hours, but I will feel when I'm not investing in that. And I will say that if I felt like I couldn't continue in that practice as I am today, I would start setting that alarm clock again because it's just so worth it. So there's another helpful tip. Set the alarm clock and go try it.
Exactly. Exactly. So people can go to your website, greengoo.com. And is there any other way to contact you? And once they get there, like how would you direct them first, I suppose, what to look into?
Well, when all else fails, just get the first aid bundle, and that will at least have you covered from head to toe, your first aid completely covered, along with
Mhm.
some extra skincare solutions. Feel free to email me at jodi@greengoo.com. Happy to help curate a solution for you. And if you're looking for the fun anti-aging solution, get the Glow and Renew bundle, which is the oil face wash, a vitamin C serum, and then the repair that you put on afterwards to seal it all in. Oh, it is heavenly and it is low maintenance.
Oh, that is awesome. And so it is JODI@greengoo.com, correct?
You got it.
Okay, yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm definitely going and checking all that out. And I'm sure my listeners will be too. It was a pleasure talking to you. This has been an awesome conversation, very enlightening and, just inspirational too. Like everything that you guys have done and the company you've created and, the whole mindset behind it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you for curating such a wonderful space to add so much value to people's lives.
Oh, thank you very much. Very much. Awesome. And I want to thank all of you listeners for tuning in to the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me the first and third Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose. And please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. I'll see you back here next time. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.